Welcome back, everyone. The U.S. Supreme Court is in the final week of its term, which began last October. The justices yesterday released a key decision on affirmative action in university admissions, but other rulings, including a pair of same-sex marriage cases, writes those are still before the court. And joining us to talk about the action at the Supreme Court, Devin Schindler, a professor at Cooley Law School. And first of all, let's explain to everyone what happened yesterday as far as they took it down to a lower court as far as a ruling on affirmative action at university admissions.
Well, I have to say, as a scholar of the Constitution and someone who's spent his life studying the Constitution, I kind of feel like it's prom night and my date didn't show up because
you were expecting a decision.
Yes, we were expecting a lot more from this case, getting some real guidance on what role race can play when government makes decisions. But essentially, the court made the decision that they're not going to make any major ruling. Instead, what the court said is that the lower court in this case, the Fifth Circuit, didn't apply the correct standard, and so they sent the case back to the Fifth Circuit to apply the correct standard. No major ruling here in terms of the merits of affirmative action in our society.
So in a nutshell, there's not going to be any changes as far as them making a decision on whether you should be able to use race as one of your university admissions guides to who gets let in and who doesn't.
Yeah, essentially the court said that they were not going to upset a series of cases over the last 35 years that said affirmative action is allowed if government has a very important or compelling reason. And so that standard remains. They simply sent this case back down to the lower court to apply the correct standard.
Okay, and so we have a ban on affirmative action in Michigan, and you think that case will be taken up in the next couple of years?
Well, in fact, it's already been taken up. They haven't heard the case yet, but back in 2006 in the state of Michigan, we adopted Proposition 2, which amended our Constitution to say that government can never consider race in things like university admissions. Well, that particular decision by the voters is going to be heard by the Supreme Court sometime next year, whether or not our ban of affirmative action violates the United States Constitution. So that'll be a big case for the state of Michigan.
So probably still a few years out as far as making a case for that.
I think we're about 12 months out before we're going to hear a final decision on the status of affirmative action, not only in the state of Michigan, but perhaps throughout the nation.
Absolutely. All right, we have a couple of same-sex marriage cases that are before the Supreme Court. Let's talk about those, explain those a little bit, and what could come of that, and when that decision is supposed to come.
Well, my odds are on Thursday. I think those opinions, the Windsor case and the Perry case are the name of the two cases, are going to be decided on Thursday. It's an exciting season for con law lovers because all the interesting cases come out near the end of June. But on Thursday, I expect that we'll have some opinion. Those two cases, one case involves Prop 8 in California, where the good people of the state of California instituted a ban on same-sex marriage. The second case deals with DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, which is a federal law which essentially says the federal government will not recognize same-sex marriages. And so, yeah, we are expecting an opinion in those two cases by Thursday.
Any indication on which way they're leaning?
Well, in my fantasy league, my Supreme Court fantasy league, to show you what a con law geek I am, in my Supreme Court fantasy league, I tend to think that there's going to be very narrow rulings. We may end up having the same discussion, that all dressed up and no place to go, because there are a number of procedural issues in those cases. But it's going to be a very close opinion. My guess is a 5-4 opinion, and a very narrow opinion is my expectation.
All right. Devin Schindler, thank you so much for being with us from Cooley Law School. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll have more the day's top news stories coming up after the break, as well as Dave Cackley and 13